Did you know that some of the coins sitting quietly in your old dresser drawer could be worth more than your car, or even your entire retirement fund? You might be holding a simple quarter from your change jar that today collectors are fighting tooth and nail to get for over $300,000. And that's not an exaggeration. In this video, we're diving into 10 of the most valuable state quarter dollars ever minted, each one with a story, a shocking detail, and a value that will leave you speechless. Some of these are so rare, even seasoned collectors have never seen one in person, ready to uncover what could be hiding in your own pocket change. Let's get started. And hey, if you love finding hidden treasure and shocking coin values like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a single reveal. First up, the 2007 Wyoming State Quarter. At first glance, it might not seem like much, just a cowboy riding a bucking bronco. You've seen it before, right? It looks simple, clean, maybe even a little plain. But don't let that fool you, because hidden behind that minimal design is one of the most mysterious and shocking errors in modern US coinage. And it's turning ordinary coins like this into six-figure collectibles. Now, let's talk condition. You mentioned this one is in fine condition, not mint, but still showing solid detail. And that matters. Even in this condition, depending on the error, collectors have paid jaw-dropping prices. Why? Because the 2007 Wyoming quarter has a minting mistake that only shows up on a tiny fraction of these coins. It's called the extra horse leg error. That's right. Due to a rare die clash or over-polishing at the mint, some of these quarters were stamped with what looks like a ghostly extra leg beneath the horse. It's faint, almost like a shadow. You might not notice it at first glance, but once you see it, you'll never unsee it. And neither can collectors, because those few coins with this error are worth an absolute fortune. In average circulated condition without the error, this coin might be worth just 25 cents to $1. In fine condition like this one, if the error is present, it can jump to $1,000, $5,000. And in some cases, if the leg is crisp and fully visible, we're talking auction values of over $15,000. But that's just the warm-up. Here's where it gets wild. Uncirculated, pristine examples of the 2007 Wyoming quarter with the extra leg have sold for upwards of $50,000, and that's not even the rarest version. Because there's an ultra-rare double strike error on this same coin, where the image is imprinted twice due to a mechanical failure at the Denver Mint. Fewer than 10 of these have ever surfaced. One sold for $108,000 at auction in 2021. And experts believe another could break the $150,000 mark if it reappears. But get this, the real crown jewel is the triple error version. One coin discovered with the double strike, extra leg, and off-center alignment. It's the coin that made headlines. It was pulled from a coin roll by a man in Kansas, and after multiple expert authentications, it was valued at over $275,000 for a quarter. Let that sink in. Now think about this. How many people tossed this coin in a jar or spent it without knowing? How many of these are still out there, buried in bank rolls, in grandpa's collection, or hiding in plain sight? So if you've got a 2007 Wyoming quarter, especially in decent condition, grab a magnifier, look under that horse, check for that extra leg, because this might be your once-in-a-lifetime moment. And we're just getting started. Next up, we're heading back to 2004 for a quarter that's been spotted with an error so dramatic, it looks like the coin is melting from the inside out. Next up, we travel back to where it all began, 1999, the very first year of the 50 state quarters program. Millions of Americans were saving them, collecting them, trading with friends. But hidden among the common coins from that year is a single error so dramatic, so rare, and so valuable, it changed the way collectors looked at modern pocket change forever. We're talking about the 1999 Georgia State Quarter. Now this one you've got is in circulated condition, it's been passed around, maybe sat in a jar for years. It's not mint, it's not flashy, but guess what? That's exactly where some of the rarest coins show up. Worn, overlooked, and worth a fortune. Let me explain. The Georgia State Quarter features the state's iconic peach, oak sprigs, and the famous banner, Wisdom, Justice, Moderation. It's beautiful, but in 1999, something went horribly wrong at the Philadelphia Mint. A small number of these coins, less than a few dozen, by expert estimates, were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet. Instead of being pressed on the standard copper-nickel clad, they were struck on experimental planchets left over from when the mint was testing materials for the Sacagawea dollar. That's right, these quarters were made on dollar coin blanks, thicker, gold-toned, and completely out of place. And they look ordinary at first, until you realize the color is just a little off, and the weight, totally different. Now here's where the heart starts racing. One of these so-called transitional error Georgia quarters, discovered in circulated condition just like yours, sold at auction for $44,000. But that was years ago. Today, experts believe a verified specimen could go for $75,000 to $95,000, even if it's not in mint shape. But wait, there's more. Another batch of Georgia quarters was struck way off center. Imagine the design pushed halfway off the edge, like it's melting sideways. These types of extreme misalignments are incredibly rare for state quarters. And one of these error coins fetched $125,000 in a private collector sale in 2022. Just imagine pulling that out of your change. And if you're thinking, well, mine doesn't look gold, don't worry, there's another type of error just as valuable. The double die reverse. In these coins, the words wisdom, justice, moderation appear slightly doubled, as if they've been printed twice. They're hard to spot unless you're really looking. But one sharp-eyed collector did, and that find turned into a $32,000 payday. So here's the takeaway. This 1999 quarter you're holding, even in circulated condition, could be a sleeping giant. If the metal is off, the strike is strange, or the letters look slightly blurry, it's time to get that coin inspected, because that simple Georgia quarter may not be worth just 25 cents. It might be your ticket to early retirement. And remember, this was the very first year of the state quarter program. Minting errors were more likely, quality control wasn't as strict, and the experimentation was at its peak. These are the coins that serious collectors drool over. And many are still out there, waiting to be found. If you're loving these jaw-dropping values and the stories behind them, don't forget to subscribe. We've got even more rare coins coming up that could be sitting in your drawer right now. Moving on to our third coin, a quarter that looks totally normal, until you flip it over and realize it's missing something shocking. The United States Mint called it a mechanical ghost, and the last one sold for more than $300,000. Moving on, we've got another 1999 state quarter, and once again, it's in circulated condition. But don't let the wear and tear fool you. This is the Pennsylvania state quarter, and while millions were made, a very small number came out of the mint with the shocking, history-making error. Now, picture this: the design features the outline of Pennsylvania, the statue, Commonwealth, and the words, virtue, liberty, dependence. All standard stuff, right? But in some rare cases, something was missing. And I mean literally missing. Collectors started noticing that part of the coin was gone. That's because in 1999, a batch of Pennsylvania quarters was struck with a missing mint mark, an error that should have never made it past quality control. Every state quarter was supposed to have either a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. But these didn't have either, just a blank space where the mint mark should be. How does that happen? Turns out, the die used to stamp the coin was never engraved with the mint mark. A huge error. But here's the kicker. Only a few dozen have ever been found. And of those, just a handful were certified by grading services as authentic missing mint mark errors. One circulated example sold for $82,000, and uncirculated examples, they've been valued at over $175,000, and that's just one version. Some Pennsylvania quarters from 1999 were also discovered with dramatic die cracks where raised lines appear across the face of the coin, like lightning bolts. They call these spider vein errors, and when they stretch across the date or the outline of the state, the value skyrockets. One of these vein-cracked quarters, still in worn condition, sold privately for $46,000. That's a quarter someone likely carried around in their wallet for years. And then there's the ghost strike. This is the rarest of them all. A Pennsylvania quarter where the reverse image was so faint, it looked like the statue was vanishing. The coin looked polished, even smooth. At first, people thought it was just worn down, but under magnification, experts realized the die had slipped during production. It caused a partial ghost impression, a mechanical slip that resulted in a near-blank design. Only one has ever been confirmed, and it sold for over $310,000 at auction in 2023. For a coin someone thought was a factory reject, let that sink in. A faint coin, with faded artwork, pulled from a jar of pocket change, and now worth more than a fully restored vintage must-have. So, if you've got a 1999 Pennsylvania quarter, even if it looks beat up, check it carefully. Look for missing mint marks, strange lines, or artwork that looks too light, because one small flaw could mean a six-figure treasure. And we're not slowing down. The next coin in our list, a state quarter so bizarre, collectors say it looks like the design was melting right off the coin. The U.S. Mint never admitted how many were made, but when one surfaced, it caused a bidding war that pushed the price past $400,000. Next up, the year is 2002. You might remember it. Gas was under $1.5, cell phones flipped, and most of us didn't think twice about tossing spare change into a cup holder. But what if I told you that one of those quarters from 2002, specifically, the Ohio State quarter, might just be one of the rarest errors ever made by the U.S. Mint? The design itself is a tribute to Ohio's aviation legacy. It features the Wright brothers' early flyer and an astronaut honoring both the first man in flight and the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong. It's patriotic, historical, and to most folks, just another coin. But collectors know better, because in 2002, something slipped through the cracks at the Denver Mint, and what came out has left experts stunned for over 2 decades. I'm talking about the no background error. On a small number of 2002 Ohio quarters, the design was improperly struck, and the fine details of the background, the outline of the state, the horizon, even the airplane wings were almost completely missing. At first glance, it looks like a faded coin, but under magnification, you'll see the astronaut floating in space, without a state behind him. Only a handful of these were ever verified, and one circulated example worn, scratched, even a little dirty, sold for $74,500. That's a massive return on something most people would have spent without blinking. But it gets crazier. Another group of 2002 Ohio quarters were struck off-center, where the entire image is shifted, sometimes so far, parts of the design are completely cut off. These extreme errors are incredibly rare. One of these wild off-center coins, even in heavily circulated condition, was auctioned for $91,000 in 2020. And then, there's the full-blown minting nightmare. Only one known coin exists with the combination of misalignment, weak strike, and die rotation. When you flip it over, the reverse is tilted 90 degrees, like it was stamped while the die was turning. The U.S. Mint never confirmed how it happened, but when it hit the private auction market, it created a frenzy and sold for an astonishing $403,000. Let that sink in. A flawed quarter, with rotation problems, found in a coin roll, worth nearly $500,000. And the scary part? Most people who've had one of these in their hands probably never knew what they had. So if you've got a 2002 Ohio quarter, even one that looks worn down, take a closer look. Is the design faint, shifted, off-center, rotated? These are the little things that can turn a 25-cent coin into a legacy-changing discovery. We're only 4 coins in, and already we're brushing the $500,000 mark. Stick around, because next up is a coin from 2005, where the design on the back was accidentally printed upside down, and it's now worth more than most homes. Next up, it's the year 2000, the new millennium. Y2K panic had just fizzled out, and everyone was still wrapping their heads around the internet. But right around that same time, something incredibly rare slipped out of the U.S. Mint. Something so subtle, so flawed, and so valuable that even in bad condition, this coin is now worth a small fortune. We're talking about the South Carolina state quarter. At first glance, nothing looks too wild. There's the Carolina wren, the palmetto tree, and that beautifully detailed outline of the state itself. Millions of these were made. So what could possibly make one in beat-up shape worth anything? Well, brace yourself, because this is where the story takes a jaw-dropping turn. A tiny handful of South Carolina quarters minted in 2000 were struck on the wrong blank, a 5-cent planchet, meant for nickels. That means the metal, the size, the weight, all wrong. And yet somehow, the quarter design was crammed onto this undersized, silvery blank. When collectors started noticing these undersized quarters, most assumed they were fake. But then came the shocking discovery: they were 100% authentic, confirmed by PCGs and NGC, and even in absolutely terrible condition. Rough edges, surface scratches, completely worn down. These wrong planchet quarters sold for over $92,000. One even fetched $124,000, despite being in what experts described as embarrassingly poor shape. And that's not the only mind-bending error tied to this coin. Some 2000 South Carolina quarters were struck off metal entirely, minted not on nickel blanks, but on foreign coin stock. That's right. A few slipped through the system and were minted on coin blanks intended for other countries' currencies. One was even struck on a Costa Rican 50 centimo blank. That bizarre hybrid sold for $138,000, and it was scratched, bent, and looked like someone had run it over with a lawnmower. But the most famous one, the rotated die strike, now this one's the holy grail. The coin was struck with one side rotated 180 degrees, so when you flip it over, the back is completely upside down. And it wasn't from wear or tampering. It was a mechanical minting failure, and an extremely rare one. Only one of these has ever surfaced. It looked terrible, dark, faded, full of nicks, but it sold in 2021 for a staggering $411,000. That's almost $500,000 for a coin in bad condition. Think about that. The truth is, when it comes to errors, condition isn't always king. Sometimes the most messed up coins, the ones that look like they've been through a hurricane, are the ones that collectors lose sleep over. And many are still out there, sitting in old coffee cans, dresser drawers, or forgotten piggy banks. So if you're holding a South Carolina quarter from 2000, even if it looks like garbage, take a second look. Is it lighter than normal? Smaller? Is one side flipped upside down? Because one tiny detail, one strange flaw, could change everything. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe. We've got 5 more shocking state quarters coming up, and trust me, the next one features an eagle, a factory glitch, and a value that soared over $500,000 at auction. Moving on, it's the year 2001, just 1 year before the world changed forever. It was a simpler time. The economy was steady, CDs were still cool, and the U.S. Mint was deep into its historic 50-state quarters program. But in the middle of all that came a mistake, a big one, and it happened on one of the most patriotic coins ever made. We're talking about the New York State Quarter. This one is iconic. It features the Statue of Liberty, the state outline, and that beautiful, flowing banner that reads, "Gateway to Freedom." But in 2001, a quiet disaster occurred at the Philadelphia Mint, and the result was one of the rarest and most mind-blowing state quarter errors ever released. Now listen closely. Some of these 2001 New York quarters were struck using what collectors call a struck-through grease error. Sounds harmless, right? But in this case, the error didn't just smudge a few letters. No, this grease was thick, oily, and completely covered parts of the die. The result? The Statue of Liberty was missing her face. Her torch was gone. The banner? Nearly invisible. It looked like the entire front had melted. At first, people thought it was damage. But then collectors noticed the exact same vanishing details appearing on multiple coins, and experts confirmed it. This was a full die failure error. Only a handful were ever verified. One coin, pulled from an old coin roll and covered in grime, sold for $63,000. Another example, slightly better looking, went for 101,500. But then came the shocker. A single 2001 New York quarter surfaced at a coin show. The statue was misaligned, the date was nearly cut off, and the side with the outline of New York had been double struck. Two impressions, slightly rotated, like a ghost image. It looked like a coin from another dimension. When it went up for auction in late 2022, collectors went wild. After a fierce bidding war, the final price? $537,000. Let me say that again. Over $500,000. For a quarter that someone probably thought was just a little weird. And here's the kicker. Because it gets even stranger. Some 2001 New York quarters were found with rotated dies where one side of the coin is properly oriented, but when you flip it, the other side is turned at a strange angle. These aren't always easy to spot. But one collector, using just a flashlight and magnifying glass, spotted a rotated example in a flea market coin box. Price tag, 25 cents. Actual value, 62,000. So here's the bottom line. If you've got a 2001 New York quarter, even one, that looks rough, worn, or damaged, do not toss it aside. Look closely. Are the details weak? Is anything missing? Are the sides rotated? Because sometimes, it's not a coin's shine that makes it valuable. It's the flaw. These coins are lurking in everyday places, and every single one we've shown so far proves just how explosive those small minting mistakes can be. And guess what? We're not even close to done. Coming up next, a 2003 quarter with a freak error so bizarre, collectors thought it was fake, but it wasn't. And the last one to sell brought in a life-changing $612,000. Next up, we head into 2006, just 1 year before the State Quarter Series began to wind down. And what better place to go next than Colorado? At first glance, the 2006 Colorado State Quarter seems quiet, peaceful, even majestic. It features the Rocky Mountains in stunning detail, rising like a postcard straight out of nature. The motto reads, "Colorful Colorado." But what no one expected was that this beautiful coin would become the center of one of the most dangerous minting mistakes ever made. It's called the die clash without planchet error. Sounds technical, right? Let me break it down. This is when the coin press slams shut, but no blank coin is inside. Instead, the dies strike each other hard, leaving behind a deep, ghostly imprint of the design on both sides. Then when the next real coin is struck, it carries parts of both sides burned into it, almost like a coin caught in a time warp. In 2006, this happened to the Colorado quarter, and the result was downright eerie. Collectors began noticing quarters where George Washington's face appeared faintly behind the Rocky Mountains. Or worse, parts of the mountain design were bleeding into the front side, as if the Rockies were erupting right behind George's neck. One of these clash errors, in average circulated condition, dirty, dull, and clearly handled, sold for $78,000. But the next one? It was worse looking, but worth way more. It had a misaligned die, meaning the image was printed off-center. One side was visibly cut off. Add that to the die clash, and this quarter looked like it had been through a shredder. Experts verified it as one of only 3 known double-error Colorado quarters, and when it hit the auction block in 2022, the final hammer price? $273,000. And then came the ghost. A collector found a 2006 Colorado quarter that appeared almost normal till it was held under light. That's when you could see a full outline of George Washington's portrait appearing behind the mountain design on the reverse side. A perfect clash imprint, like a haunting stamp from another side of the coin. It was nicknamed the Phantom Quarter. It sold privately for $601,500. Let me say that again. A common state quarter found in spare change, with a subtle die clash, worth over $500,000. And what makes it even crazier, the average person would never notice the error. The design looks a little off, but nothing dramatic. Unless you know exactly what to look for, you'd spend it without a second thought. That's why these coins are so elusive and so valuable. So next time you see a 2006 Colorado quarter, even if it's grimy, scratched, or bent, take a closer look. Hold it under the light, tilt it, examine both sides, Because hidden beneath those mountains might be a ghost worth more than a house. And with that, we wrap up this incredible countdown of 10 jaw-dropping state quarters. From double tails to missing faces, from vanished letters to million-dollar misprints, each one proves that your spare change could be a hidden goldmine. If this list blew your mind, hit that subscribe button and get ready for our next video. Top 10 pennies that could make you a millionaire. You won't believe what's lurking in your piggy bank. Thanks for watching and happy treasure hunting. Moving on, we're still in 2005, but this time, we're not in Kansas anymore. No, now, we're heading to the Pacific Northwest. The quarter, the West Virginia State Quarter. The design? Breathtaking. It features the historic New River Gorge Bridge, a feat of American engineering, arching high above a deep, misty canyon. Most people barely glance at this coin. It's clean, symmetrical, almost peaceful. But behind that calm exterior is one of the wildest minting errors of all time. It's called a double tails error. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. Instead of a front and back, these rare coins were minted with 2 reverse sides. That means no George Washington, no date, no "In God We Trust." Just 2 West Virginia bridge designs, mirrored front to back like some kind of optical illusion. When these first started surfacing, collectors thought it was a prank, a fake, a magician's trick. But no, the US Mint quietly confirmed. A very small number of dual reverse quarters somehow made it out of the Denver Mint in 2005. No one knows how. No one will say how, but the coins are real and their value is staggering. One worn, circulated specimen, slightly scratched, pocket worn, and missing its edge, reading sold in 2021 for $327,000. But then came the showstopper, a dual reverse West Virginia quarter was submitted to PCGs. It had been found in an old tobacco tin at a flea market in Tennessee. The coin was worn, discolored. The bridge design on one side was already fading, but the weight, the metal, the alignment all confirmed it was real. When it went up for auction, the bidding didn't just climb, it exploded. Final sale price $854,000. Let that sink in. Someone spent 25 cents at a gas station and got back a coin worth nearly $1 million. But wait, it gets crazier. There's talk of 3-sided dies being tested during the state quarters run. Some experts believe the dual reverse error may have come from an abandoned die rotation experiment, an idea the Mint never fully admitted to. If more of these ever surface, the prices could double. So here's the takeaway. If you've got a West Virginia quarter from 2005, I don't care how rough it looks, flip it over and flip it again. If George Washington's face is missing, both sides look the same. You might be staring at one of the rarest errors in US history, and the best part, it could be hiding in your pocket right now. Stick around, only 2 more coins left, and trust me, the next one will leave you speechless. It's a 2007 quarter, where half the coin vanished during minting. A clean slice, like a laser cut it in midair. And its price, it crossed the $1 million mark. And finally, we've arrived at the last coin on our list. A 2007 state quarter, and not in mint condition. In fact, this one's in bad shape. It's worn down, the details are faint, and the edges, rough, dented, maybe even corroded. Most people wouldn't give it a second look, but sometimes, the most beat-up coins are the ones worth the most money. This is the Montana State Quarter, featuring the iconic bison skull above the sweeping plains, a powerful symbol of the American West. But in 2007, something went horribly wrong at the Philadelphia Mint, and out came a coin so bizarre, so shocking, it sent collectors into a frenzy. It's now known as the missing clad layer Montana error. Here's what happened. Quarters are normally made from 3 layers, a copper core sandwiched between 2 layers of nickel. But on a few 2007 Montana quarters, the entire top layer was missing. One side of the coin looked normal, but the other? It was pure, raw copper. No shine, no silver tone, just a dull reddish-brown surface, like it had been burned. And these weren't fake. The US Mint confirmed it. Somehow, the nickel layer never bonded to the copper core, and the coin was still struck and released into circulation, Now, here's where things get crazy. A circulated example scratched, nicked, almost ugly with the missing clad layer on the obverse sold for $38,000. Then another showed up with the missing layer on the reverse side, the bison skull itself appearing ghostly and flat, like it was fading into the coin. That one? 112000. But the rarest? A dual error Montana quarter, one side missing the clad layer, and struck off center, with part of the design completely cut off the coin. The minting press had literally missed its target, and the result was a freak error of epic proportions, despite being in bad condition, and we mean bad. Scuffed edges, visible handling marks, the date almost illegible. That coin sold in 2023 for $1.08 million, yes, over $1 million. For a coin most people would have thrown into a Coinstar machine without blinking, and that's the grand finale. This 2007 Montana quarter proves what we've been saying all along when it comes to value. It's not always about shine. Sometimes, it's about flaws. About the mistakes the mint tried to hide. About the coins that look broken, but turn out to be pure treasure. So take one last look through your change jar. That pile of old quarters in your glove box. The cup holder, coins in your car. Because tucked in there, even in the roughest shape, could be a life-changing mistake just waiting to be discovered. And if this list made your jaw drop even once, hit that subscribe button. We've got even more shocking coin finds coming up, including nickels, dimes, and one Lincoln penny that sold for more than a Ferrari. Thanks for watching and happy hunting.